What's going on, everyone? I'm Matt from Universal Audio, and welcome back to part 2 of our 3-part series on the Opal Morphing Synthesizer. If you missed the last video, I showed you how to use the preset browser to find and load awesome factory presets that you can start using in your projects right away. Then I showed you how to tweak those presets using the macros, the filters, and the effects. In this video, we're gonna go through the panel section by section and learn what all the main controls do and what impact they have on Opal sound. And by the end of the video, you're gonna have some tools to dive in deep, customize patches, and even create your own presets. So let's dive in and check it out. Alright, so Opal's panel should look pretty familiar if you've ever used an analog synthesizer or even most software synths. Everything's laid out in order of signal flow, starting with the oscillators on the left and ending with the output and effects section on the right. Let's start by taking a look at the oscillators. Opal has 3 hybrid oscillators that are really the core of its sound. Each oscillator has an analog mode that gives you access to all of the common analog waveforms that you're used to, and you can also morph between those waveforms using the dial around the waveform display to get some really cool in-between shapes. You also have access to a wavetable mode, which gives you a bunch of professionally designed wavetables from simple synth sounds all the way up to complex, harmonically rich wavetables. Each oscillator has its own coarse and fine tuning knobs for setting the tuning of the oscillators, as well as an ensemble knob, which adds instant unison detuning for thickening and widening the sound, without having to use up another oscillator. Let's hear what that sounds like. There's also a few other modulation options here, like FM, AM, and sync, but we'll cover those in the next video. Oscillator 3 has a sub-oscillator built in, and there's also a noise oscillator with a few different noise types. Now next to the oscillator section, we have the mixer, and this is where you can set the level of each oscillator and also control how each oscillator is routed through the filters using the button next to the knobs. Each oscillator can be routed to filter 1, filter 2, neither, or both. Now to the right of the mixer, we have the filter section. And after the oscillators, these probably have the biggest impact on Opal's sound. Just like the oscillators, each filter can be morphed from high pass to low pass and everything in between using the dial around the display. There's also the standard filter controls you might be used to, like cutoff frequency and resonance, as well as a slope control, which when combined with the morphing features gives you full control over the shape of the filter. There's also a dedicated filter envelope, which can modulate the cutoff frequency of either filter, with the depth of the modulation controlled by the envelope amount knob, as well as built-in key tracking via the keyboard amount knob. Now there's also a dedicated insert effect slot in the filter section, which is used for harmonic effects like overdrive, saturation, distortion, and even wave folders. This is a really cool way to add harmonics back in after you remove some with the filters, and is a really powerful tone shaping tool. Next to the filter section, we have the modulators, which are the LFOs and the multi-segment generators. Now these are mainly used for setting up modulations via the modulation matrix, so we're not going to cover them in this video, but we will talk about them in the next video, so definitely check that out. There's also an auxiliary envelope, which again can be mapped to any parameter via the modulation matrix, and we'll talk about it more in the next video, as well as an amp envelope, which controls how sound is outputted from Opal. Finally, we have the output effects section, which lets you control things like panning and the final output volume, as well as the 2 effects. If you click the button at the top of the output effects label, that'll open the effects page where you can load up to 2 effects. Now you have everything from classic UA effects like 1176 compression to delay, modulation, and reverb that's inspired by the same algorithms as our UAD plugins. Once you have effects loaded in the 2 effects slots, you can control the amount of the effects using the effects 1 and effects 2 knobs in the output effects section. Now the last page that we're going to take a look at today is the voice page. By default, Opal is polyphonic and set to 8 voices, but if you want it to be monophonic, you can come in here and set this to mono. You can also set things like glide and tuning here, as well as disable vibrato if you're not using it. Now to close the voice page again, I can click the button next to the name, and if I want to open any of the other pages, I can do so by using the label at the top of the section or the button. So by now, you should have a pretty good understanding of how all the main controls in Opal work and what impact they have on Opal's sound, which will give you the tools you need to start customizing presets and even creating your own custom patches. Now in the next video, we're going to go deep on modulation. We're going to talk about the LFOs and the multi-segment generators and how to assign these to different parameters in the modulation matrix. So if you're interested in sound design or just setting up some expressive playability with Opal, definitely check that one out. Make sure you subscribe to the Universal Audio YouTube channel so you don't miss that video or any of the other videos that we have coming your way. I'm Matt from Universal Audio, this is the Opal Morphing Synthesizer, and we'll see you in the next one.